Yeah, it's cool to see, the ethnic, especially I think this school is like one of the most ethnic.
To eat.
Yeah, like my friend here, he's Vietnamese. And then, but yeah, like, I guess it's one of the most ethnically mixed schools. And then we're just rambling on about statistics and whatnot.
It's all right.
You never met an Asian stoner, have you?
Please tell me that's gonna be.
Oh, that's going in, man.
Right?
That is going in. That'll probably be at the beginning or the end.
He's gonna include that.
It's a good day.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. On that note, I guess we'll get back to the questions. This is EMG Radio, episode number 19. I'm Randy, and today I'm sitting with, so to speak, Daniel Maldonado. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, and you?
Not too bad. For once, we have early morning episode.
Yeah, this is the only time I'm available for now, because home internet's down, so it's like, right when I have an interview, it would go down, because it's going to be down till Tuesday, I think, so now I'm here.
What part of the world are you from, Daniel?
I am from the area of Los Angeles, California, a little city called Paramount. And it's, I guess, the city itself is somewhat famous. It's actually where the Zamboni was invented, but the cities around it are home to some pretty famous musicians. Like, right next to us is Compton. And, of course, that's where all the gangster rap is from.
Yeah, straight out of Compton.
I actually live, like, a mile away from there, but just north of Paramount is Downey. That's where Metallica's from.
Nice.
And then, like, on the kind of the corner is Southgate, and that's where, I'm sure you heard the news, but that's where Slayer's from. And, speaking of Slayer, unfortunately, yesterday, we lost a musical giant yesterday. Jeff Hanneman.
The guitarist for Slayer.
Yeah.
And you're recording in a library right now, right?
Yep.
Just kind of a setup for the listeners. That's the dedication, man. He couldn't do it at home, so he went out in the public.
Well, it's Friday, and most people don't have classes, so there's only, like, maybe 4 or 5 other people here. And my friends right here as well.
Do you recall the first genre or band you considered yourself a fan of, and about how old were you?
That I, like, really consider myself a fan of, I'd say rock music, since I was probably, like, in 1st or 2nd grade. But the first band that I was really a fan of was Audioslave when I was in 4th grade. But ever since I can remember, really, I've been around music. All my, I'm one of 6, and they were all in band, so they've all had some kind of musical experience. But I guess I'm the one who's gone the furthest with it.
So about what age did you realize you were interested in actually creating music?
I started writing music. I started with, it was a program that I got called PowerTab. I was around 12 years old at the time. That was like 2006, I think.
Nice.
But back then, my music was all primitive and weird sounding.
Sure, man. The beginning stages always are. Was there a specific thing that made you interested in music, in trying your hand at music, that is?
It was, I would always be on this website called Ultimate Guitar, and I saw, I was learning how to play guitar, and then I saw, there's a program that shows you how that, it allows you to actually tab music out, and I thought, if I could tab other people's music, I could tab my own music, and that's how it all began.
So, and you said you were about 12?
Yeah.
So, what was the first band or project that you were involved in?
I guess the first legitimate band that I was in was one called Astral Pit, which, it didn't really go away. It actually became the band that I'm in now, Antecantamentum. Oh, by the way, Antecantamentum, since that's, a lot for people to pronounce, it's cool to just say anti or something.
Oh, yeah? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so, like, if it's ever on EMG, you can just say the new anti song. so you don't have to, struggle.
That one's not too bad. It's the other one that I always have trouble with.
Oh, the one that you had to cut me saying it into?
Yeah, did you like that, man?
I was eating hot Cheetos when I was listening to that. You nearly made me choke, man.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. I was gonna say, have you been involved in many projects? But I know for a fact you have been. Take us through a brief history of all the projects you've been in.
All right. Well, the first one that I tried to start was one with my cousin, because he's a drummer, and I guess we called it Reaping Death. It was kind of influenced from Metallica, Creeping Death.
Did you say raping death?
No.
Oh, creeping death. Reaping. Okay, I was like, whoa, man, that's fucking hardcore.
Reeking death, Reeking, it's like some, and you get like some really strong ass weed and you call it like some sort of thing. You put death in there. Yeah.
You said it should be called Reaping.
Reaping Death. That's a little more. That's like a chilled out metal band.
It's like some stoner doom right there.
Yeah, stoner doom.
It's funny. I don't smoke, but I actually listen to stoner doom, so it's like.
Sure, man. Sure.
But yeah. So that was back like 2006, and then I was pretty much I guess I was learning also how to record, but the only program I actually had was Audacity. So I just used Audacity, and then I didn't have a microphone. I actually used a headphone, because I know the left headphone actually works as a microphone.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And then around 2008, I decided to call it In I Avgrunnen, which means into the abyss in Norwegian. And I actually made like I tried to record songs, but I didn't really have a structure to them. They were more just, they were like a stream of consciousness kind of thing. But I actually made some pretty good riffs that I've used throughout some of my newer songs. What I used to record, it wasn't until 2008 or so that I actually got an electric guitar. So I actually recorded with an acoustic guitar before. Like, I tried to do metal riffs with that. And then 2008, what I did was I got this little tiny amp, and I hooked it up from the headphone jack into the microphone jack and just recorded that. So it sounded all nasty, so like pretty much there was no dynamics at all. 2009 was the same, and the 2009 was when I made Astral Pit. And then 2010, I actually got a couple members to join that band. And, they're still with me, they're some of my best friends. And then 2011, I'm actually in the most popular band that I'm in now. I don't think I've mentioned it on EMG. It's one called Invoke the Wake. I'm a bassist in that band.
Really?
Yeah, we've played quite a bit, And then we got a new member, his name is Abraham Casanera. He's the best guitarist in our whole city. And what's cool is that his brother is the best drummer in the city. So, that family right there, they have some really good talent. I actually added them to the group yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so hopefully they'll post, But yeah, they are very good musicians. Abraham was actually I guess he was like the recording engineer for us, because we have a few songs and we recorded with him. But now that he's a member, we can just go jam, record stuff. It's kind of funny though, because he's the oldest member. He's like 20 something, I forget, but he's like the second shortest one too.
You guys give him shit?
No, because we really don't insult him really at all, because it's like we respect him. That that's how talented he is. That we can't even really make fun of him.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then 2011, then that year I made Antecantamentum. I just made that, a solo project so I could finally record an album. And I actually used Audacity for that to record.
Really?
Yeah. But what I did with the drum tracks and the synth tracks, all that, I used Sibelius. That's the program that I primarily use for writing, especially for the current project. But yeah, I used all the drum sounds. And then I had no idea what mixing and mastering really was, so it was like, make it not sound horrible. It still sounds horrible. Try to make it sound less horrible. And so if you hear the first album, it's just an assault on the ears. And then I'd say 2012, that's when I actually started getting, good with recording. That's when I got Reaper. I started learning how to mix and master a little bit. I'm still not really good, but it's not that level anymore, at least. Like the second album, for the Argumentum ad hominem, I think that one was pretty good sounding, I suppose. And then I think it was May, like late May of last year, so almost a year ago, I made my ambient project, Thaumiel Sonozaki.
It's interesting that's like kind of one of the last projects you put together, because I think that's the first thing I know you for.
Yeah, like, because that was my first venture into true electronic music.
Yeah. Oh, what about Dracan Ceolan?
Oh yeah, because actually, let me tell you the story of how I got to know Drazen. It's pretty interesting, and it's like all by chance that all this happened, and it all goes back to an ad on Facebook for a whole different band. Like, I was just going through Facebook and I saw an ad. It was a band called Runa. I think that's how you say it. It was and it says, Anglo-Saxon metal, and I was like, we're learning about that in English right now. I think I'll check it out. So I checked it out, and I don't think he had any songs at the moment at that time. And then later on, he did a cover of a Hoyland song called Pagan Land. And then I heard that, and I was like, whoa, this sounds pretty cool. This is a legit band. I better check them out. And then later on, he released an EP called, I know I'm not going to say it right, but I think it was Fon Modraniste. It means the Mother's Night in Old English. And I'm actually one of the few people who owns a copy of that, like a physical copy. Because he said, who wants a free physical copy of it? From there, he announced that he was doing a Burzum compilation of cover songs. And I was like, I gotta get in on that. And I did the cover of My Journey to the Stars. The person who was running it was Mark Hoyland. And he's a person who's helped me out so much with this project. And then also on there, I met Mike as well. Mike O'Brien from Melancholia. Afterwards, I started listening to Hoyland more. And, that was one of my... Basically, he was the one who really got me into doing this. And then I think he posted a link to a song that he did or something, and then it ended up, basically it was like a path of links to this one blog, and it says, submit your song it was called Dark Occult, it was a Dark Occult compilation. And I was like, alright, so I sent in the song of Screams. This was like, when was this? This was like March, I think, of last year. So I sent in that song, and then I went to the blog, and I noticed it was gone, and I was like, what the hell did I just do? I was like, ooh, I get the feeling this isn't good. But then a few days later, I got an email saying the Dark Occult compilation has been released. And I guess the blog got deleted or something for copyright reasons, but then it got restarted again. And then they posted the compilation. And then, I listened to the other bands, and most of them were like ambient noise, all that. And I was like, okay, this is some really weird stuff. But then there was a couple other songs that I actually really enjoyed. There's this one song by a project called Fluid. And then the other one was a song, was it The Lingering Sentiment by Ezra Yates? And I was like, whoa, this sounds awesome. So I checked out Ezra Yates, and I added Drazen. I think it was like a month after I added him that I actually really started talking to him. I was like, okay, so I added you, you're kind of there, I'm kind of here. So how about hello? And so, we started we chatted up, and, we got off, we hit it off really well. Like, we were into a lot of the same music and all that. And I think he was also one of the ones who influenced me into doing my own project as well. After, we were friends and all that. And then I think he introduced me to EMG as well. A few months later, I was like, I like to collaborate with him, like some kind of, ambient metal project. So then I actually asked him about that. And then he said, dude, I was going to ask you the same thing. So we're like, all right then. And then I think the name, we were trying to come up with a name, and then I was reading about Anglo-Saxon myths, and I read about one about that the entrance to hell is the mouth of a dragon, the Dracan Ceolan. And that's how that began.
Throat dragon.
The throat dragon.
That's EMG radio, like, infamy now, man. I believe I recall when Drazen got that song on that Dark Occult compilation. I didn't realize you weren't in the group at that point.
Yeah, I think I got added like July or something.
Oh. So the projects you're currently involved in are that Dracan Ceolan? Am I saying that right, man?
Even I'm not really entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure it's just Dracan Ceolan.
Dracan Ceolan. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Antecantamentum, is that currently active?
Oh, very active. We're actually recording our third album, because it was a solo project, but then I decided to pretty much end Astral Pit, and then, the members who were in there, bring them to Antecantamentum and make it a full band now. So we're working on the third album, and some of the songs on there actually were from like '09 that I wrote on Guitar Pro. So they're finally being released.
How about Thaumiel Sonozaki? Are you doing any work on there, or are you busy with the other projects?
I'm doing things with all of them really at once. Like Invoke the Wake, we're working on a single right now. Ante, we're working on the album. And then Thaumiel, I'm working on like 3 things at once.
You're a busy dude, man. Like you put out a pretty good amount of material. I didn't even know about Invoke the Wake, so.
Well, that's actually been kind of dormant for 2012. It was pretty much dormant. Like there was only like maybe 2 shows that year that we did. With Thaumiel, I'm doing 3 things at once right now.
And a film.
Oh yeah, actually my friend here, his name is Harrison. Him and I guess some of his friends.
It's in the process of being written out and stuff. But really, once it gets shot, I'm looking for this guy to be the soundtrack composer.
Nice.
Yeah. Like, because I guess it's like about insomnia and all that. So it's like a guy kind of. What was it about again?
It's based off of movies like Breathless, the 1960 French film Breathless, and Martin Scorsese's 1976 classic Taxi Driver. Same themes as that, one loner guy goes out in the middle of the city at night, gets driven to insanity by, all the violence and all that awesome eccentric shit out there, And he becomes a vigilante, yeah.
Wait, what?
He becomes a vigilante, kills a shit ton of people.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Dude, I want to see it. Tell him I want to see it.
Yeah, he says he wants to see it.
That's awesome, man. Once I get worked out and stuff.
Make it happen. Yeah, dude, judging by your, like, Thaumiel Sonozaki work and all that, like, I think you'd make a killer film composer.
Some of the songs that were written that I ended up making for that were actually supposed to be, like they were supposed to be, like, in my mind, like, in the filmmaking process that is my mind, they were the theme songs, like, The Creation, the very first song was actually supposed to be the intro to an anime that I thought of, but I never went far with that, since I don't really draw that much.
That's how a lot of my solo stuff goes, is like, either the song comes first or the idea comes first, but pretty much everything I do ends up getting tied to, like, some potential film project I could do, like, so. Okay, the next question is, and you've got several bands and projects, and you've kind of talked about a couple of them, but how did you come up with your project's titles? You talked about the Throat Dragon.
Yeah.
Where does Antecantamentum come from?
That is Latin for overture. Like, and I remember I was trying to look for a name for that, like, desperately, and I was like, I can't think of a goddamn name. And then finally I was like, Google Translate, Latin, something symphonic, like overture, and the first thing that came up was, in all capitals, Antecantamentum. And I was like, that sounds so metal.
It does, man. And it means overture. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then, the first song on the first album was a big overture. Although I think I could have written it so much better, but, the past is the past. And then, Invoke the Wake, I think we're considering changing the name. Like, I'm not really entirely sure what the name actually means. Like, we were also kind of the same thing, just kind of throwing out names out there, And then, Thaumiel Sonozaki, that one has kind of a complicated thing. I wanted to name it just Thaumiel, because I was inspired by a song by the band Black Funeral. Because there was an album that he did that was based on all the dark side of the Kabbalah, what are they called, the Qliphoth. I'm pretty sure I didn't pronounce that right. But there's things like Gagiel and Thaumiel, and also that's where one of the Antecantamentum songs is about. But this one, Thaumiel, it means the twins of God in Hebrew. Sonozaki is, that's, if anyone out there watches anime, I'm sure they'll get the reference, but it's the last name of a character from a show called Higurashi. And what's cool is that Sonozaki, they were, the characters, they were actually twin sisters. And, they were very important. So I guess the name itself has to do something to do with, twins, or I guess duality, the nature of that.
Nice. All right, and we got some songs to play for us today. What is the first track?
It's the third song from the first album. It's called Traumend.
See, some of these questions, since you have so many projects, might be kind of difficult, but how would you describe your music to someone who has never heard it before?
Antecantamentum, I would just say, because the sound for that one really has changed quite a bit, but I'd say, it's like a symphony of metal. Well, not really. Well, that's maybe more how it was before. The music is starting to get a little less symphonic as time passes, and now it's more atmospheric. I guess it's like atmospheric dream metal. Like, that's what's, because that's what's popular now. Bands like Alcest, Fen, all those. So it's like, some people, they don't like it because I guess they think it sounds soft, but I really do like it because it sounds very, it's like mind-blowing music. And then Invoke the Wake, even we have trouble saying what the genre would be because it's like, like genre-wise, we're not really entirely sure what it is. It's just straight metal. I guess that's what we would describe it. We're just straight metal. And then Thaumiel Sonozaki, I came up with a poetic version for it, but it was like the music of Thaumiel Sonozaki. It's like being in a nightmare and then waking up and feeling good because it was just a dream.
Yeah, I like that, man.
But in reality, it's just some synths and stuff.
Oh, you took all the magic and mysticism out of it. In reality, it's just some synths.
And then me blowing into a microphone just like this, and then looping it forwards and backwards so it's continuous, and then repeating it however many times how long the song is, and then putting compression and reverb on it. That's
Really?
actually what I did for many of the songs. That's
interesting, man. I wouldn't have guessed that. So do you want to talk about some of the people you work with in your groups and collaborate with?
I'll start with Antecantamentum. The members, there's 5 of us in that band. There's the first one who I added, he's a drummer named Ricardo. He's a really good drummer, and especially since he started going to college, he started learning theory and everything. He's become a beast of a drummer, beast of a musician, really. He's also in choir. And then the guitarist, his name is Joseph, and I guess, I just remember it was he joined band, and he seemed kind of alone, and I guess I was one of his first friends in band. He's kind of I guess you could say he's kind of an odd guy. I think he has Asperger's syndrome, so sometimes he's kind of. So he's, sometimes he acts a bit odd, but he's a very good man. He's a very good guitarist. And then the bassist we had, his name is Jacob, and he's left-handed. That's one of the first things. That's kind of, so he's like, I play bass, but I can't play his bass because it's not natural, man. But he's a cool guy, I guess sometimes he thinks lowly of himself, but he is a good musician. And then the keyboardist, he's actually a friend of pretty much everyone he was a friend of pretty much everyone in that band and in Invoke the Wake, so, I guess he's kind of like a bridge between the two bands. But, his name is Kyle. He's been a keyboardist, he's been a, piano, I think he played organ in church, he said. But yeah, he's a really talented guy, so pretty much we have a lot of talented musicians. The guitarist, he's the main songwriter, his name is Theodore, but we call him Tweak. He's the main songwriter. He's been playing guitar way less time than I have, but he's already better than I am. Because I've been playing since 2004, but he's been playing since 2009, I think. And he's already gotten really good. He's written some really good songs. Oh my! I'm sorry, I'm being distracted. I'm at the 5th floor of the library.
Yeah.
And there's a huge tall palm tree, and there's a squirrel at the very top climbing it. So I'm like, wow, that is a brave ass squirrel.
It's so high.
Oh, if he falls, he's fucked. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man. It's all right.
But yeah, and then Invoke the Wake, we have Theodore, I'm the bassist, and then the drummer, his name is Anthony. One of my first high school friends. He's a cool dude. Sometimes he gets a little, sometimes he can be kind of he plays around quite a bit. But he's a really cool dude. And then the singer, his name is Miguel. He's also, once again, a talented singer. That's a common theme with musicians. They're very talented. And he was in choir and everything. And especially since the beginning of the band, his vocals, pretty much everyone since the beginning of that band has just become really good. And that was noted by the next member we added, Abraham. Abraham has been playing, he's basically been involved in music since I was 4. So I think 97 he said that he played, I think he said he started playing violin back then, but that guy is just, him and his brother are just the most talented musicians in the entire city, so we have massive amounts of respect. The fact that he wanted to join our band, we didn't ask him, he asked us. That just, we couldn't even comprehend that he would want to join our little band. He was already in other bands that were doing things already, so the fact that he wanted to join us, I guess that says quite a bit about us, but, yeah. And then, of course, Dracan Ceolan, you already know Drazen. You probably know Drazen more than I do, I guess.
I don't know. Obviously, we've had Drazen on a couple times, but yeah, Drazen's a good guy, man. I always enjoy talking to him in the group.
It's it kind of sucks. It's I imagine if we actually knew each other in real life, we'd be best friends, but it's he lives, 2,000 miles away.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, am I the only member in EMG from California or from the West Coast?
I couldn't say for sure, because I'm not sure where everybody's from, but I'm not aware of anybody else that is.
Well, isn't Trent Reznor in the band, apparently? I mean, in the...
Oh, yeah, he got added to the group way early. But he's never... he's probably not even aware that somebody added him in there. Him and Atticus Ross both. We just like seeing the names in the list.
It's EMG. Members include Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Oh my god, dude, if that was true, if they were active members, that'd be fucking mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So, what title would you give yourself in regards to being a musician?
I'd say the primary thing I really am is, I guess, composer. Although I think that role kind of changes depending on which band I'm in. Like, I mean, I write most of the music for Antecantamentum and for obviously for Thaumiel. But when it comes to Invoke the Wake, I don't write that much. But I guess there I'm more of just a musician, just a player of instruments. You know.
Sure.
And then in Dracan Ceolan, I do most of the instruments, but I think Drazen, he's the vocalist, but he writes, I think he's written most of the lyrics. Or he wrote Kewinties, and actually no, I wrote the lyrics for a couple of the songs. But when it comes to lyrics, that's something I don't do very well.
That's the hardest part, man, for me, anyway. Like, the music is easy, lyrics are very hard.
English is not, I speak English, but when it comes to the subject in school, that's not really my favorite. You know, I prefer science or history.
You're not so much of a prose guy, huh?
Not really.
This question, again, you have multiple projects. I guess this would be more geared towards the stuff where you write most of the song and stuff. Take us on the journey of the typical song creation process. Like, where do you usually start and go from there?
For Antecantamentum, the way that I would start a song, I guess I would just be playing guitar and just trying to do, I guess, what I used to do a lot was stream of consciousness stuff to see if I can get some good riffs out of it somehow, and then, I'd start from there with the riffs. That's the main thing. Like, I usually don't start with a drum track. I think that's what most of the musicians here would do. You know, they start with a beat and all that, but I guess I just start with the main guitar lines. I don't think I've ever started with lyrics either, because, lyrics are usually the last thing that I do. And then for Invoke the Wake, it's the same thing, but it's usually Tweak who starts it with that. And then, I might add a few ideas. There's a song we do called Demonopathy. Like, in the middle, there's it sounds like clean guitar, but it's actually me playing bass, the really high notes. Like this one little arpeggio kind of thing.
Nice.
And then, I guess when it comes to that, I'm more of I add a little bit of touches to songs. Like in the song, probably the most popular song that we have is called The New Suffering. The intro, what he does is that he plays a riff and then he's descending. What I do, however, what I did kind of just to messing around, but it ended up sounding good, was I ascended the scale. So I guess that's what I do there is I'm more just, little aesthetic things. When it comes to Thaumiel Sonozaki, because I've actually been, ever since I got Sibelius, that was about 2010 that I got that program. I've been composing music like that since then. So I have a huge folder of compositions. And some of the songs that are on the albums, they were actually written back then. But I just, I brought out the ambience from it. I brought out the atmosphere. Or added to it, Primarily for Thaumiel, I use Sibelius, and that's probably a program not many people like it. What do you usually, when you actually make a song, what do you usually do? Do you just go straight into the DAW, however you say it?
Me, yes, I do. I use it as I use it for the whole process from writing to, then obviously mixing. Sibelius, that's pretty popular with traditional type style composers. I've heard that mentioned a lot when it comes to composers, and well, first off, people that know a bit more about actual music theory than I do, but people that typically write for orchestral pieces and stuff.
Yeah,
that's usually where I've heard that referenced.
Yeah, that's the program that I use for this, since it's more I guess neoclassical. And then when it comes to music theory, I wouldn't say I'm nowhere near the best at it, obviously, but I guess I have a good sense of it. I know, interval scales, things like that. One wouldn't really hear a wrong note in that, unless if I intentionally make it a wrong note.
Uh-huh.
And then another thing that I have, I guess, it's something musicians, it's they always talk about it. Some people really want it, and then the people who have it, many times they hate it. I kind of love it, kind of hate it sometimes, but I have perfect pitch. So I can tell what note a sound is. And speaking of which, there's something that I mentioned a while ago on the page about the first album. If you know what I did musically on that, with there's 12 songs on that album. If you notice a certain pattern that I did with all the songs, you will receive a free copy of that album and every album that I've made and will make for free.
That's pretty sweet. I'm going to guess I'm gonna guess it's something I have not and probably will not notice.
So I guess it's something that some people probably won't notice, but there should be a clue with the number of songs. Let's just say, yeah. So if there's any listeners who think they want to, if they haven't listened to it, listen to it and see if they notice the pattern with all the songs, they will receive the album for free.
Have you had anybody take a guess yet?
Oh, I think Drazen asked something like, I forgot what it was that he said, but it wasn't the right answer. But yeah, no one's, I guess, really tried besides him.
Hidden musical messages, man. Of the entire music process, from like writing and recording to releasing, performing, what is your favorite part?
That's pretty hard to say, honestly. Like, I think it kind of varies between the projects. Like for Antecantamentum, for me, we've only performed once, but I enjoyed it, even though it wasn't that great of a show. Like, I really enjoyed that. And the same thing with Invoke the Wake, I really like performing. But, because I think with Invoke the Wake, because we try to go, because he has Pro Tools, he has all this, high-end stuff. It seemed kind of boring almost, because it's like, we try to be as perfect as possible, where with me, it's like, you'll notice mistakes in recording and all that. And I mean, I guess that's not a good thing, but it's like, I try to not make it hard on me,
Yeah.
Oh, for Thaumiel, I think for me, it would be the writing. Like, I really like, making, it's like when I hear the song coming together, it just sounds awesome. And also, I kind of like, even though I'm not really good at it, the mixing. Like, I like making it, I'm trying to, I like, especially since I'm learning, if I can make it sound good, that's always a good thing. And then also, releasing as well. It's like, I feel like I've made a major accomplishment. Like, I worked on this for a long time. Finally, the fruits of my labor have been harvested.
All right. And what is your least favorite part?
The least favorite part would have to be, I guess it would have to be reading reviews about it. Like, I haven't had that many reviews, but it's because and actually the reviews I've gotten for Thaumiel Sonozaki, they've pretty much all been positive. The thing is, though, is that I'm really scared of negative criticism. That's something it's like, sometimes if someone were to say, I reviewed your album, like, I'd be very, very hesitant to read it. Like, I'd like to read it if it was a good review, but, if it's a bad review, that's going to destroy me, honestly.
Don't let it destroy you. Don't let it, man. Because that shit, no matter how good the music you make is, and the music you make is good, somebody out there is going to pick it apart someday. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the nature of criticism for one, and then the internet. Criticism, like, that's all the internet is for the most part. So, I'd say be prepared and don't let it affect you too bad when it does happen.
Yeah, but what also really sucks is that, like, I saw on some websites for Argumentum ad hominem, and to be honest, that album, I think I could have made it so much better. And I saw, like, it had star ratings, and I guess a couple people gave it 1 star, so I was like, well then. And it's like, and it's also like, I'd like to know what about it was bad,
Yeah, beyond just, okay, so they didn't like it. All right, musically, what do you think, what do you feel are your strengths?
I'd say when it comes to, I guess, melody and somewhat harmony, like when it comes to making an actual melody, like, sometimes they just come to me, like, for example, I think I posted it on the page the other day. I was going through my old stuff and I found this piece of sheet music that I had, and it was the main line from one of the songs from the latest album. And I remember the story about it was, okay, so the teacher that we had for music in high school, this was senior year, this was towards the end of the year, he would try to teach us music theory, but it was always the basic stuff, things that I've known for years now. So it's like, copy down the rhythm, tell me what it is, So I just wrote it down and I was like, okay, I'm done. Everyone else is still trying to, how do you draw a note? And then afterwards, it was after the lesson, he just let us kind of, chill for the rest of class, didn't bother us or anything. So I was talking with my friend, and I had my viola, and then he had his cello. So, we were talking, but then right before the class ended, all of a sudden I just got this idea for a melody out of nowhere. And I was like, oh crap, I have to write that down. So right underneath the what we wrote for theory for that lesson, I started writing down the melody. And then I asked him, he still had his cello. We were about to leave, but I was like, do you think you could play this bass line while I play this melody line? Just to see how it sounds. And, we played it, and I was like, wow, I think I have something good here. And then for the next few days, I started writing it on Sibelius, and I wrote a full composition in like 2 days. And then I asked my teacher if there was a chance that we could actually play it, because, when it comes to composing, like symphonies, that's something you really don't, I guess they say you don't really, that's not something that's mastered easily. But, so, of course, I guess I have a sense for it, but I don't really, even, I'm really not that good at it. But I figure, it wouldn't be like, flutes have to play, way too high, or clarinets have to play way too low. Like, I guess I have an alright sense for that, but, the reason why we didn't was because it was too late for us to learn it. But I think if I had written it earlier, we probably could have played it. Yeah, so I guess when it comes to melody, because sometimes they just come to me like nothing. Not all the time, but sometimes.
And you have a second track for us today. What is that?
Yeah, this next song is called Consanguinity, even though it's actually 2 songs. But they actually have like alternate stories to it, or at least the song has like 2 different sides to it. And one side of it is an experience that I had back in January of last year. I was asleep, and then halfway through sleeping, I woke up. But the thing is that I woke up while I was having a dream. So it felt as if like I was still in that dream, even though I knew I was awake. So it was basically, I guess, a waking nightmare. And what woke me up was, I guess, I was having like a panic attack at the time. And so part 1 of the song is basically like the feeling of being in some kind of nightmare, some kind of like an empty world of nothingness. And then the second part is like when that chord, the string chord goes up, that's like you're waking up. And part 2 is basically like the feeling that it was just a dream. And then, nothing bad happened. But the alternate story to the song, it's also based on this anime series called Clannad. And essentially it's about this guy who, he meets all these women, but then he falls in love with this one woman at the end of the series. And then the second season is basically like, the family life. And then, spoiler alert, the wife dies. But specifically, this song is also, part 1 is also about, towards the very end, their daughter also dies. But then part 2 of Consanguinity is basically like, it's what happens at the very end is that they didn't actually die. It was basically like a dream, I guess you could say. So ultimately, the whole song, it's like, it seems like something horrible happened, but in reality, it was just a dream. So so here's the song.
What areas do you feel less confident in?
Rhythm, I would say. Like, I don't have a very good sense of rhythm usually. So it's like I have to rely completely on, computer sounds. Like, maybe I can, say if I had a drum or something, I'd probably make an alright rhythm, but after a while, I'll start to get out of rhythm and all that. Also, something that I'm not that great at is, say, I'll see people that, they write songs even if they're also beginners. Their pieces seem a lot more creative than mine. Like sometimes I don't really add that great, and I'm not that really great with adding, little details to the pieces. Like, I'll just, really, for me, sometimes if you listen to the songs, and I think for the genre that I'm working in, it works well. It's just, a bass and treble, and it's just, a rhythm and a melody, but there's not really much else in some of the songs. Like, some songs do, I think Circular Logic, that one's one, but that's, just pattern-based. So I guess my weaknesses are rhythm and trying to come up with rhythm sometimes. I'm not that good with drums. And then, deep, intricate details, I suppose.
Sure.
Or being really creative with music.
Filling out the little touches and stuff.
Yeah. I guess it's with my songs, I could always add a little more. I guess that's what it is.
You talked a bit about the software you use. You mentioned, I never know if I'm pronouncing it right. Sibelius?
Yeah, well, I guess I usually, I think it's Sibelius. You have the A.
Sibelius.
Yeah.
Okay, and Reaper you mentioned?
Yeah, I use Reaper for recording, and then I use Cubase for mixing and mastering.
Oh, nice. What kind of hardware do you use?
I have almost nothing of hardware. The only thing I actually have is a cable. It's a USB to a guitar cable. That's what I use for Antecantamentum, Dracan, and all that. And then the mic that I use is the one I'm using now. It's a Logitech computer microphone, USB. And it actually got broken right here at the end. So I made a little clay stand to stand it up.
I like when people can be resourceful and work with what they got, and you get pretty good sound out of the stuff you've got.
I guess I have to work a little harder to try to make it sound better. Well, actually, one of my friends, he got me a Mo2 interface. The problem is that it uses FireWire, and I don't have a FireWire port on this computer.
Oh, yeah. FireWire isn't super common, it seems like, anymore.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have one because I use it with my video camera, but it's like you can't buy a new computer with it. I never see it on new computers, so.
Yeah. I think Macs have it on their laptops.
Oh, really?
I think.
Nah, I don't use Mac.
Yeah. Windows.
Windows
7, not Windows 8.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
I don't remember who told me not to use it.
I think it was Autonomy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because I didn't know much about it, and it was free, but it was legal, but I had got a good copy of it. And I was thinking about switching over, and they're like, don't do that. So then I actually looked into it, and I was like, yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, my friend, he has it on his computer. It's bad. Even my brother, the second one, he was, he's worked with computers for many, many years, and even he was like, wow, just screw Windows 8.
It seems like, and it's kind of like the issue with Windows Vista, it seems like they can't just leave it alone, and they got to try to make it so user-friendly that the people who kind of know what they're doing or need to do stuff that's a little more advanced than simply opening the web browser, it screws them over,
I guess they say it's meant for people who don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. And that doesn't benefit us at all.
What's kind of funny, they say, I guess the odd number releases are the good ones and the even number ones are bad. Like, Windows 7 was good. Windows Vista was bad. Windows XP was good. Windows 2000 was, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's kind of true.
So hopefully the next Windows will be good, if they follow the pattern.
They better, because I don't want to go to Mac. Mac's so expensive, and it's just weird.
There's always Linux. Apparently that's what the elite computer users use.
That's true. I just don't know anything about that.
But what sucks, though, is that I don't think there's really any resources for musicians. Like, there's no real music programs for Linux.
No, yeah. If I had, I imagine if I was running something on Linux, I'd need something to be able to emulate Windows just so I could run the programs I use. And that kind of seems backwards, you know.
I think because some of these programs, even if it's like it would take how do I say this? Like, I guess there's a reason why they're made by such big companies is because they're big programs. I mean, I imagine that's why there's a few. I know of a few, free open license programs, but usually they aren't that good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, certainly, man. It takes a lot of resources and time, and people that are doing it for no profit or, a small group of people putting it together, it's hard to compete on that level with the big companies.
Yeah.
What drives you to create music? It's like a big question there.
Yeah, it really is. I really don't know how to answer that, to be honest. I make a lot of music, but I don't know why. I guess it's just, I feel the need to. I guess it's I've always liked to make things, even I'm not that good at drawing, but I like drawing. So I guess it's a need to create,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's I see my music as my children, so I guess it's kind of the reason why men become fathers, I guess.
No, yeah, I totally...
So your guitar's like a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And the music he produces is like him just jacking off on the guitar, right?
That's right. You got to spread your seed, man.
Boy, there's this kid. The computer's a wife,
Oh, God.
Which, when you think about it like that, it makes sense if you got to plug that USB jack right into it.
Yeah. And then it's the mixing is the pregnancy.
Wait, who's the doctor that does it, What would the doctor be?
Bandcamp, I guess. That's one who releases it. Wow, I'm glad you're here, Harrison. You actually made some pretty good... Yeah. It's I'm a father of music. So I guess I abandoned the website.
Oh, I was just going to say that kind of actually does tie into something that I commonly think of is I don't have this huge need to reproduce as in have children, and most people use that to continue their legacy or put their name out there or whatever. But that is kind of the way I look at music and different artistic projects. That's my way of contributing something to the world beyond just me being here,
Yeah, definitely. I guess, I don't know what much else I can really do, I'm going, majoring in science, but I don't think I'm going to become a big scientist. But, something I do well, at least I think, is, make music. So I figure if people remember me for something, it would be that.
There's meaning behind all that.
But I guess there's meaning behind everything we do, even if we don't know it.
What or who do you feel has the most influence on your music?
I would say primarily it's the music that I listen to already, and that's one thing also that I've noticed about some of my songs is that there's sometimes there's unintentional plagiarism. I don't realize that I've accidentally plagiarized a song. Sometimes even it's a song I've never heard. I think I mentioned it on the last radio show. It was one of the songs that I did for the Sanguine EP. There was a line in it. I wrote it before I heard of that band, but I guess it sounds kind of similar to a song by Catatonia called End Time. So when I was making that song, I pitched it down, so I guess there's not that much of a similarity to it. The music I listen to that really, I guess, influences me.
Okay, and are you inspired by non-music sources?
Very much so. I guess not as much as many other bands are, but I'm inspired by nature. A good example from the latest EP, the song Skell. I visited, I went to go visit my brother he lives in Oregon, so we drove all the way up north. And when you drive up north, or even down, there's a big central valley in California that's just, for a good amount of hours, you're just in pretty much open valley. I kind of imagine that's what Nebraska's like. It's just an open valley.
Just dirt, right?
Well, not dirt. Well, it's actually mostly farms.
Yeah.
But
I mostly pass by dirt anytime I go up the
yeah, but it's when you get to once you start getting past Sacramento, then that's when you start getting into mountains. And then when you get, towards the border of Oregon, then you see the big one, Mount Shasta. When I saw Mount Shasta, I was like, wow, that is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. So that's what that song is basically about,
Nice.
One non-musical inspiration as well. And I guess I have a story. There's two sides to... It's a story of one song, and it has two stories to it. But one of the things that inspired the song was actually like a dream or a vision that I sometimes get. And that is that I imagine... I guess it's kind of dark, but I imagine that the day that I die, it'll be like a sunset. Like, it'll just be the faint orange glow of the sun shining down on me, and then that's what it... And I'm just, like, in my room, looking up, and then finally it's just gone. But the song that it was Scarlet Ethereal. So it's kind of, like, influenced, like, this is the final moment. The sky is a beautiful glow of orange. And, it's like... I guess it's like, are you willing to finally... accept your final fate. So that's what it's kind of about. It's like, there's almost like I guess there's a happiness to it, which is like, the accepting that this is, what you were, I guess, essentially born to do, to die. And of course, there's the sad parts of it. That's basically the first half of the song. The second half of the song, it basically goes into another genre. And the story behind that is kind of sad. It happened just a few months ago, but it happened as I was writing the song. I always knew I was going to do, like a shoegaze metal kind of thing to it, but I wasn't really sure what to do. Like, on my SoundCloud, I still have the original idea, and that was just, just to do the main line again, but, all played with guitar. But what happened was, I still remember it was December 1st of last year. I went to go hang out with some friends. It was kind of not that late. It was like 8 o'clock. I got home, and I was like, I'm going to work on some music. So I was trying to come up with a line, something different. And then, I was home alone, though, because my parents, they went to my uncle's birthday. He was like, I forgot how old he was. He was in his 70s. And then I got a few calls from my uncles, and they were like, is my uncle all right? And I was like, I'm not sure. And then... From what I found out, apparently my uncle, David, he had a heart attack at his birthday party.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, man, what happened? So I tried calling my dad, and the first time I called, he just said, okay, he's in the hospital right now. That's all you need to know. And then a little while later, I started getting really concerned, so I called again, and it turns out that he died. And as soon as I found out, it felt like I was devoid of emotion. I hung up the phone, I went back to my room. Now what happened was, as soon as I sat down on my bed, I picked up my guitar. No prior thoughts, nothing. I just started playing the guitar. There was that line of Scarlet Ethereal that came up. So basically, I guess, that music line is me expressing these emotions after hearing that my uncle has died,
Mm-hmm.
So I literally I had no it's like that. I guess it's like I'm not the kind of person who really shows emotions, It's usually through music. That's one way that I show emotions. So I was like, I don't even know what to feel physically, so I'll let my guitar do that for me. And then even the recording, I posted it, and then Risto said, the guitar seems a little out of rhythm. That's because I literally recorded it right after. So when you hear the kind of stumbling from it, that's all the sadness from that. So then so I got that little progression. So then I started to build on that, and then I let all the power come out. For the end of that song. And I think that's the most powerful song I've written. Yeah, I mean, like, I remember when I went to go visit my family, you know, like, they were there. Like, they were... But, you know, like, my family, they were there. And I saw them at the... Because, like, what we do in... I don't know if... I guess this is, like, a Catholic thing or Mexican thing, but... for 9 days after a person dies, we go to pray a rosary. So, like, I guess, you know, it helps them get into heaven. But when I, you know, the first time I went to go see everyone there, they were just in shock. They were just like, because it was not at all expected. It was like literally he was happy when he died, you know. He was, you know, happy, he was laughing, he was with his family, he was where he wanted to be. And I suppose, I guess, you know, that's, when it comes to dying, I guess that's a good way, you know. I don't think he, like, literally, it just, like, he was, you know, he was laughing, he was with his family and everything, and then all of a sudden just, you know, it just happened. You know, like, there was no struggle. Like, literally, I think literally he just... I don't think he knew he was having a heart attack, so it just went. But, you know, for the family there, I mean, like, the guitarist of Invoke the Wake, he's very good friends with my cousin, who was there. And so, you know, they live in the area where that happened, so he actually went there, and then and so, like, you know, Tweaky asked him, you know, what's wrong, man? And then he told him about what happened, and I was like, yeah, I mean, no one expected that to happen, so it's like, you know, it's like I think there's a literary term for it, but it's like when things go from really, really happy to all of a sudden just horrible, horrible sadness.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, it's sad, and for everybody there, it's, like you said, you know, going from happy, having a good time, to just getting slammed into this terrible moment. But from his perspective, like...
He was where he wanted to be, you know?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
He loved his family and everything.
Hey there, listeners. This is Randy cutting in. We've decided to split the interview with Daniel into 2 separate parts. This will be the first part, so believe it or not, we're going to go ahead and end it on that somber note. And before I jump off of here, I just real quick want to once again thank Daniel for taking the time to do the interview with us. And since he hadn't yet got a chance to pimp his websites in this part of the interview, I'll go ahead and do that. If you want to listen to more of Daniel's music, which I highly suggest you do, we have a barrage of websites for you. Most of the music played today was his solo project, Thaumiel Sonozaki, and you can get the music of Thaumiel Sonozaki at thaumielsonozaki.bandcamp.com. You spell that ThaumielSonozaki, thaumielsonozaki.bandcamp.com. You can also check out Antecantamentum, a little more hard edge in general there. It's ANTECANTAMETUM.bandcamp.com. Also check out his other band that he plays live shows, Invoke the Wake. You can find their Facebook page at facebook.com/Invoke the Wake. That's INVOKE, Invoke the Wake, WAKE. Holy shit, man, this is a mouthful. And then finally, we have Dracan Ceolan, which you can find at facebook.com/DRACANCEOLAN. There might also be a Bandcamp page, I'm not sure, but these are just the pages I pulled up real quick. Once again, thank you, Daniel, and thank you, listeners, for checking us out. Be sure to keep an ear open for part 2 of the interview with Daniel. Thank you for listening to EMG Radio. EMG Radio is an electronic media collective production for the Electronic Musicians Group and is a license under Creative Commons Attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives 3.0 unported license. All music contained within the EMG Radio podcast is property of the respective owner, subject to the respective copyrights and/or licensing, and used here with permission. For more EMG Radio, visit emgradio.com and check out more Electronic Musicians Group. Go to facebook.com/Electronic Musicians Group or hit us up on Twitter at twitter.com/EMG Artists.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Never met an Agent Stoner, have you?
All right.